Welcome to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast, your guide to future tech trends and innovation in a language you understand. Now, over to your host, Neil Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Now, this aging podcast host considered himself quite fortunate to have got all my wild side out of the way before Facebook, Twitter, smartphones, and even the internet came on the scene. Yes, I am officially ancient, but don't rub it in. But you crazy kids out there, you don't have this luxury now, and everyone is judged by every comment and every article that they've shared or retweeted, every picture that they've posted, and even who your friends are and what their beliefs are too. I mean, that sounds like a Black Mirror episode, right? But the reality is, turning up for a job interview in 10 years from now could involve your future manager Googling your name, and what are they going to find? Will it be a controversial status full of bad language when you were only 13 years old? Or will they find a drunken picture of you passed out on the floor aged 18? These are very real situations, and where people are starting to find that their digital footprint has come back to haunt them. But hey, don't panic just yet. Your friendly podcast host is here to help. And I recently came across Patrick Ambron, who is an American entrepreneur and co-founder of BrandYourself, which will essentially allow users to clear up their online profile. He's already appeared on ABC's Shark Tank a few years ago, but today he's joining us here on today's podcast. So buckle up, hold on tight, so I can beam your ears all the way to New York, so we can speak with Patrick Ambron from BrandYourself. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell me a little about who you are and what you do?
Sure. Thank you for having me. My name is Patrick Ambron, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of BrandYourself.com, which is essentially a platform that offers tools and services to help people put their best foot forward on the web, which means avoiding issues that could, hurt their career and making sure they're doing everything they can to present themselves in the best way.
Now, fortunately, Facebook, Twitter, and all the other social media platforms were not around in my more wild years, so I'm quite thankful about that. But we are now living in a world where social media posts from school or college that are in the public domain will come back to haunt people in 10 years' time when they've got that respectable job and life. So can you tell me a little bit more about what BrandYourself is and how the platform provides software that consumers can use to actually remove that controversial content from their teen years and all those social media accounts that they've accumulated over the years?
Yeah, absolutely. And you've hit some of the nail on the head right there. The kind of thesis of the company is this idea that, or this acceptance that how you look online right now, everything you've done online, everything about you online is now being used to judge you at every stage of your career. And what's really happened on the other side is online screening. The idea that companies are using tools or algorithms to dig up dirt or learn more about you has gone through the roof. And, what they're attempting to do is pinpoint the best candidates. But what we've found and believe is a lot of times those online screenings can be inaccurate or unfair or miscategorize people. And what I mean by that is a lot of times these algorithms are very good at pinpointing not the best candidates, but the best maintained online presences, right? Because what they're looking for are red flags and people who don't have any. And they're also looking for people who have reinforcing factors. And to your point, for a lot of people, there's just things out there that get flagged that aren't really a good representation of who the person is. A misunderstood joke, a photo tagged, in poor judgment, right? So on that side, I'll give you a really quick example that according to the most recent study, well over 60% of employers won't hire a new candidate if they find pictures of them drinking. Yet another study shows that has no correlation to if they'd be a good candidate or not. And what that means is, it's just these online screenings and these red flags don't always do a good job of determining if someone would be a good hire or not. And what our platform does is kind of scours the web, scours your entire online presence and shows you what you would look like during an online screening. Would you pass or fail? What are some risk factors? That could be an image or a social media post or a Google result, right? Maybe someone posted something about you and it shows up in Google. And how can you minimize those risk factors while making sure you're checking off all the boxes employers are looking for? Are you on LinkedIn? Are you posting about the right stuff? So you can kind of get ahead of the game and make sure you're not losing opportunities.
Now, you're based in New York and have raised over $7 million in funding, but I'm kind of curious where it all began. So I've got to ask, what was the inspiration for Brand Yourself? Did your past come back to haunt you, or was it a trend that you noticed and just decided to do something about and take action?
So when we started the company, a handful of years ago, this was back in 2009, my co-founder, Pete, had his own issue. His issue was he was being mistaken for a criminal with the same name and was having trouble getting an internship. And what we realized is, and this was an online screening, wasn't nearly what it was today, but employers, officially or unofficially, were doing simple things like Googling you, right? Yeah. And we realized, holy crap, what shows up can really hurt you. So what do you do about it? And then Pete went and said, I've got to go fix this problem and try to figure out if I can detach myself from this in my Google results. And he couldn't get a quote from what's known as online reputation management companies for under $25,000. Wow. And that's just because online reputation management was this new, this industry, but it catered to, corporations, enterprises, maybe really high net worth individuals. They weren't designed to help, a regular person like Pete. And what we said is, well, sure, this makes sense for companies, but this is going to make a lot of sense for individuals, for consumers, for people. What about people? People are going to need to understand, am I putting my best foot forward on the web? Or people are going to need to be able to deal with, issues. Because we started saying, so all it takes is someone to go online and just trash you and you can never get a job again, and there's nowhere you can turn. And we basically said, what if we created tools meant for professionals, for individuals, tried to create software, almost like TurboTax instead of paying an accountant, that walked people through this process themselves. And that was kind of where the company came from. In a sense, we realized, to your point, the trend that, this is only going to continue. You're going to be screened more and more online, and someone needs to be kind of there for the individual consumer. And they said, maybe we can be that company.
It really is, and it's something that I noticed the other day, because obviously I'm in the UK and I do travel to the US a lot and have to apply for what's called, I think it's an ESTA visa. I have to fill this in, and for the first time that I've done this year, it's not compulsory at the moment, but it does ask for your Twitter, Facebook and other social media channels so they can monitor you before you even go into a country.
Oh, yeah. So people are now, I had my first situation where I had to go through a normal background check for an opportunity, like you do when you apply for a job. Yeah. And for the first time, I got the same thing. The background check company said, we're also doing an online background check. You have 24 hours to connect all these things to us. It was a mandatory, and it basically made it clear if you claim you don't have any of these profiles, it's a big red flag in and of itself. So you can't just opt out in that way. They're basically if we find your social media profiles and you didn't connect them, you're going to lose the opportunity. And it's okay, so someone or something's going to go through all of my posts to see if I'm worthy of this opportunity. And more applicants are getting that message for the first time. And it's only going up. I don't know if you read about what's going on in China, for example, with the citizen score.
Yeah, it's like a Black Mirror episode, isn't it?
It is exactly like a Black Mirror episode where they're saying, look, we're going to monitor your entire online presence. And it's all going to go to a score. And that score determines what services you get access to, what privileges you have. And it's you post bad about the government, that hurts your score. You post good about the government, it helps your score. What your friends are posting can hurt or help your score. If you're spending a lot of time streaming videos, that hurts your score because you should be more productive. It's just analyzing everything. And while I hope, the US or the UK never get to that point, what you're already noticing is, in 5 years now, this stuff is only going to be more an important part of getting a job, getting into college, getting a credit card. And, I think that's, while you understand what they're attempting to do, this idea that you can be miscategorized or lose opportunities based off something as a social media post or who you're friends with is a really, scary prospect. And we're just trying to combat that a little bit.
Absolutely. Now, Brand Yourself appeared on ABC's Shark Tank too, and as we have an international audience who might not have seen that episode, can you just walk me through that process of how you were selected to be on the show and also how it was received during and after it was aired?
We went on Shark Tank a few years ago, and we just applied online, just kind of said, hey, maybe we should get on this show, and then you go through a process. It's really interesting. So before you ever go out to fly to film, they take a lot of lengths to make sure the first time the sharks see you is when you go out there in front of them in the camera, right? They really want it to be a cold introduction, like nothing else. Yeah. So what they have is they have a whole team of due diligence that goes through your entire company to make sure you're not a fraud and you're legit. It was actually really impressive. It was one of the best due diligence and fastest due diligence processes I've ever been through. Then they go out and they film the whole season in basically a 2-week block, right? They get all the companies out. They get all the sharks there. You get assigned a day and a time. They don't limit how much time you're out there for. Like, you could be in there for 2 hours. They edit it down to 6 or 7 minutes, but they let the conversation go so the sharks can make their decision. A lot of it is obviously boring stuff that wouldn't be interesting for TV, but it's a pretty thorough kind of pitch and conversation with sharks. And we went in there and we got offered a deal. We got offered a deal from Robert Herjavec for $2 million, but we turned it down because he wanted 25% of the company. It was just a little bit more than we were able or willing to give at the time. But that was worrying because, right, they can edit that any way they want. But when they did the final cut, it was received really well. We came across positively, even in there. While all the sharks passed, it was more about the value they'd get for their money and what we were valuing the company at. But everybody understood the value of what we were trying to do. They understood the idea that people do need people need tools like this, and they all kind of had their own experience of whether they were hiring people or they had known someone. So that really was good for us because even though we didn't take a deal, we were portrayed really well, and the exposure from the show ended up being a huge bump. We're consumer focused, so anybody out there could come on and use our product. So. And we don't need inventory. You just have to go to our website and sign up, and you can sign up for free to start. So it had a huge impact on the business, getting in front of that many people. So it was a great experience for us.
And of course, looking back now, I bet you're really happy that you didn't rush into that deal and you did just wait back a little bit and choose your own path.
Yeah. I mean, it's a tough decision, and thankfully, we're still here to tell the story. So that's a good thing. But it was a tough decision but I think we did the right thing, and it was a great experience all around.
Now, you did mention a moment ago that you're primarily consumer focused. So are your users just savvy tech guys protecting themselves, or equally could HR departments use your service to actually discover more about the person behind the resume too?
We take a lot of lengths to make sure HR departments aren't going in and using our product to dig up dirt or find out more about other people. So the way we do it, and there are numbers of ways we do it, but yeah, our business is all individuals monitoring and improve, basically cleaning up, protecting, and improving their online presence. And I should say, we talk a lot about those stupid things or digging up dirt. There's just as big of an onus of even if you don't have anything negative, are you doing everything to build a personal brand that puts you ahead or at least gets you the opportunities you deserve? But to answer your original question, no, we are not. We don't let HR departments come and use the product and find other people. And the way in which we do that is you give us permission through authenticating and giving all that of all the stuff that we can read through. So unless you have someone's login credentials and things like that, you wouldn't be able to scan much.
So if there's anybody listening, we're at the beginning of 2018 now, so a lot of people are going to be managing their personal brand or have big aspirations for the year, and they might be really interested in this. So can you just talk me through how does it actually work and how do you actually use the platform?
Absolutely. So basically you go to the BrandYourself.com and you sign up for an account. You go and get a scan. You put your name in, you click scan, and basically we give you the product scans everything about you on the web, Google results, images, social media posts, all that kind of stuff, and it gives you a score. Think of it like a credit score. Yeah. It's out of 800, and what that score indicates is basically how you would do on an online screening, literally, but also figuratively if you're not actually going through one of the ones we spoke about. It's would you fail? Would you pass? Would you do really well? And that's separated into things that hurt your score, things that would make you fail. Those are risk factors. So a risk factor could be, look, we found this social media post that, according to the latest studies, 60% of HR departments would flag because it could come across as bad-mouthing past employers. This joke you made about your boss driving you crazy. You should probably delete it because or you could decide to keep it, but we're just letting you know. It could be this image. Hey, this image of you from 5 years ago of doing a cake stand, even though you're of age in it and stuff, X% of employers would consider this a flag. You might want to delete it. It could be something even like a Google result. Hey, look, you know how you fired someone last year? Well, look, this person wrote about you on Google anonymously that you're an idiot, and it's your second Google result. That doesn't fare well, and here are your risk factors. But then it walks you through the process of minimizing them by whether it's burying that Google result or deleting those images. It also shows you things that can help you. You know, do you look good in Google? Are employers finding positive things about you? Are you here the recommended properties? We recommend places you should be, and those are determined by what your industry is and how good or bad you currently look. How much positive do you need to kind of counterbalance that? Are those things search engine friendly? What do you need to change to make them show up higher? How often should you be keeping them fresh? Are you reminding you to keep those fresh? And basically kind of walking you through the process on both ends. Monitoring risk factors will make sure you know if anything pops up and what you need to do about it. And then showing you steps you can take to make sure you look the part. Because on the other end, it's always terrible when someone loses an opportunity because they're just not as good at showcasing their skills online as someone else. And there's easy ways to combat that, and our platform kind of walks you through that process. And that's how it works. And you can kind of get your score for free and get a sense of what's hurting and helping you. And if you want to take our steps and take a lot of action of improving those, you can upgrade, and it's about $100 a year. And that's how it works. That's the platform.
Do you have any examples of how a user that you may know of that had a less than ideal social profile and then was able to actually fix those unwanted Google results, clean up their social media, and also improve their reputation as a result of using BrandYourself?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll give two examples. And one of the things we always say that online screening is a dangerous trend, and it's not always a good thing that your online presence is so impactful in your career, is that you could do nothing wrong and be targeted by someone that really hurt you. The most extreme cases, you read a lot about it now, and it's only growing. I don't know if you've ever heard of revenge porn. Yeah. But the idea is all you could do is, break up with someone, and they could be really upset, and they could go in and they could post things that were never meant for, public consumption, and they could put it all over the web, and they could write terrible things about you, and you basically can't even go into a job interview after that, right? How could you? Yeah. And that means your online presence is now preventing you from moving forward. And, we have several cases like this. The one I'm thinking of is the person they weren't even real photos that were posted. They were photoshopped and couldn't even go into a job interview. And they were able to use the platform to basically remove all the posts that could be removed and push the rest of them into oblivion. So they were just so unlikely to be found. And they were replaced with, real information about this person that they finally felt like they were able to go in and not be so embarrassed to meet somebody, because they're like, God, all this person's going to do is search me and just read about this horrible stuff being said about me. I want to give a second example that's more on the other end of the spectrum, which is, like I said, some people come to us, and it's not that they have anything negative they need to clean up. It's just that I'm not getting the opportunities I deserve or I need because I look irrelevant or non-existent. We had a person come to us who basically started freelancing as a consultant. They'd spent years and years, running tech departments, and said, I can help some of these big companies figure out, in startups and in big companies, like I can help other big companies figure out how to restructure their organization so they can be a bit more agile. And I've done it for a few customers, and I loved it. But now I need to see more. And when I talk to these potential clients, they look me up. I just don't look like I've been doing this for long, even though I have, and basically used our platform to make sure that they looked like it was very clear what they did. They looked really impressive, made sure they had posts, going out into the right networks and actually helped them even build a pipeline. So on the other end, that's someone who's using us not to necessarily get rid of negatives, but actually make sure that all their skill sets and all the skills they've acquired are actually working for them online, and they're getting the opportunities that make sense.
Now, there does also seem to be an increasing number of online influencers or famous YouTubers now that are suddenly being judged by that offensive comment or pic that they posted when they were 14 years old on Reddit or Twitter. And some people just seem to spend their whole life just searching for that little bit of dirt that they can then amplify to all that person's fans. I mean, if that was to happen to someone, what's the best way of reacting to something like that, do you think?
Yeah. So what you're getting at is it's clear even more than ever, especially if you're, a public figure or have some sort of audience that, anything you've ever posted is fair game and can be used against you.
Yeah.
Now, remember, what we're typically doing is we're helping just regular people. They don't have a big audience that, someone's going to dig up dirt in an online screening and let them know. In the cases you're talking about, you've got people just hung, you sometimes have thousands or millions of people digging up that dirt and stuff. And it's really tough, right? Because on the one hand, you might have had some really, really, really ugly or bad views and you might have to answer for them. On the other hand, it might be something that was taken out of context and now you're answering for it, and it's tough. You know what? It really depends. Once that happens to you, and you're in the public eye, I don't have a good answer, right? Yeah. There's a great book called "So You've Been Publicly Shamed," by a guy from the UK actually named John Ronson, and it's a really good kind of exploration of this idea of one thing can happen to you online and the whole Twitterverse or Reddit gets on it, and people are kind of left with this damage to deal with. And the most famous one of the book explores this one case where there was this PR person who tweeted a really poorly judged joke, like a really stupid joke, before she got on a plane. And when she landed, she was trending on Twitter. She had been fired, and basically her life had been ruined. And most people realize, if you ask most person in isolation, what do you really think about what this joke was saying, most people come to the conclusion that, okay, it was an attempt at humor and it's not actually supposed to be taken at face value. But it didn't matter, right? This person's life was ruined after this. And my point is, when that stuff happens, I don't have a good answer of the best way to deal with it. What we try to do is, if you're a regular person, is avoid you getting in that situation in the first place. And that's what we're trying to do. Once it happens, it's really tough to deal with.
Absolutely. I think it's a great case for using Brand Yourself as well. Speaking of which, what is your big focus this year? Are there any big milestones or goals you're chasing?
This year we have a big release we're announcing tomorrow that really satisfies some of the stuff we were talking about, where just much more comprehensive, the ability to get ahead of the curve and prevent some of these issues, show you the tweets or the images you might want to delete, show you the things you can check to kind of get ahead. So a lot of this stuff we've been building and improving with the culmination of it all coming out this year. And now our focus is getting that in the hands of consumers, letting them know it exists, right? To your point, we want to help as many people as we possibly can. So I'd say the last 2 years are really focused on building. And now this year it's about, okay, let's get this out there because this can help a lot of people.
Well, a huge thank you for coming on the show today. If there is anyone listening that's we've really inspired today to want to check this out, can you remind the listeners of where they can find out more about Brand Yourself and contact your team if they've got any questions at all?
Absolutely. You can just go to BrandYourself.com, one word, and you can sign up for free. And then once you get to that site, there's lots of ways to contact the company, whether it's live chat or email or even just calling us. Our number's on the site as well. So go to the site, sign up. If you have any questions, you can contact us directly.
Excellent. Well, I think over the years, we've come a long, long way since the day that we were all anonymous online, because nobody's anonymous online now. And we're all judged, like it or not, on everything that we post, our content, what we like and what we share, and who our friends are online now. And I think Brand Yourself is a fantastic tool for managing that a little bit better. And something we all need to be aware of. So a big thank you for coming on today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Much of what we've talked about today sounds like Nosedive, which was the first episode of Black Mirror Season 3, which I urge you to watch if you've missed it. Because now that we all spend the majority of our time online, we are essentially being judged by our past posts and everything that we've ever said online. Now, despite protests of how you have changed or grown as a person, or don't recognise that side of yourself anymore, some could judge the comments you make online right here, right now, in 10, 15 or 20 years from now. And I think we're only just starting to see for the first time the results of our digital footprint and how it can come back and haunt you. After all, nobody is anonymous online like people used to think they were when the internet first came on the scene. But fortunately, Brand Yourself does seem to offer that second chance, and for users to remove that controversial content from social media accounts that's got an automatic AI recognition which will spot alcohol, marijuana in pictures, and even give you a credit score like rating and provide you with a report card with what could be holding you back in life, all down to your social score. Now, we all make mistakes and would sooner forget about some of the things that we did when we were younger, and we've all been a little bit foolish at any age. Hell, I know people in their 40s that were crazier now than they were when they were 15. So this is not an age thing, this is something that's going to affect everyone. And for those reasons alone, I think it's a great idea. But what are your thoughts? Let me throw that back out to you. Has your digital footprint come back to cause you torment or make you miss out on a must-have job or a great opportunity? I'd love for you to share your stories. You can leave me an audio message on the podcast episode blog post, which you can find over at techblogwriter.co.uk/podcasts. Equally, you can email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, or tweet me at Neil C. Hughes. I'm quite interested in how many of you are going to be brave enough to step forward and reveal the darker side of your digital footprint. Let's see who is brave enough to answer me on that one. I will do it in confidence and we can change the name to protect the innocent if you wish. But I'm afraid that's it for me and for another podcast. But I will return tomorrow. But until then, a big thank you for listening. And until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thanks for listening to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Until next time, remember, technology is best when it brings people together.